Is 8 your lucky number? You are going to be so excited about what I have to tell you for this full moon. Hi, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, here to talk to you today about the full moon in Libra on March 28th, 2021. We're going to go over some general information about what I see, and then we'll do predictions for each sign. There's going to be timestamps in the description box and little chapters that YouTube magically does, and so you'll be able to find your sign very easily. If you're new here, I want to say welcome to you and thank you all so much for the great comments you've been leaving. I really appreciate it. I wanted to say, and I forget to say this, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Hit the like button if you like videos like this. That helps me to know to make more of these, and also it helps the YouTube algorithm to go out and show these videos to other people. So let's take a look at this full moon in Libra. And one of the first things that jumps out at us is that there are 5 significators that are at 8 degrees. Now, 8 is a really interesting number because when we look at it, first of all, it's like infinity, the infinity symbol, you know, infinity, but it's standing upright. And so in a sense, it is reaching up to heaven, grabbing hold of something, pulling it down to earth so it can manifest, and then sending energy back up, or in some cases wishes, or the next thing you want to do. And so it's a very much connected to the concept of as above, so below. So the number 8 is really tied to the concept of money and power because, of course, when you have the ability to manifest things, you tend towards money and power. I would imagine that you also would find, love relationships, and hopefully you're helping the world. But the energy this time over this next 2-week period is going to be extremely focused on what are you manifesting in the world, and that is, what are you putting out into the universe, which is then giving birth to opportunities for you to manifest here at home. So the first aspect that we see is the sun is conjunct Chiron, which means that the moon is opposing Chiron. And when we bring those energies together, what happens is it shines this big spotlight on where you may have been wounded in your life. Now, this is not something like just falling down and hurting your knee, but this is maybe something that you actually incarnated to work on. So that is, what is the deeper wound that you, being a human on this planet, are working to heal. So, and the healing that happens with Chiron is this continuous process. It's not like something that instantaneously goes away, but then over by degrees it improves, and you then become the healer as opposed to needing to be healed. One of the pictures that we can think about with Chiron is the pearl, the beautiful pearl which we find inside the oyster, which was formed basically because an irritant, a grain of sand, gets into the oyster, and the oyster doesn't have a way to expel this. And so over time, though, it's coated with this opalescent material that allows this pearl to be formed. So something beautiful and something valuable comes from the trials and tribulations that you're going through. And so when we're doing this aspect of sun opposed moon for the full moon, and then with the conjunction of Chiron to the sun, we are looking at where you are letting the irritation of life, or this feeling that you're blocked, or that there are obstacles, or that there's problems, where is that causing you to stop rather than creating the pearl? So over the next 2 weeks, you could find the wound that you have being that you might become very aware of it. And so we would judge that wound basically in the chart by the sign that it's in and the house that it's in. And so you could look and say, all right, well, you know, I have this in the second house, so then the wound would be about the accumulation of stuff and money, or in the fifth house, which could be about taking risks or having joy in your life, or in the 10th house about deciding what career to have, or being in a career that's not respected, but you love it anyway. And so there is this need now to say to yourself, all right, am I embracing this struggle, that I have to climb this mountain, maybe limping the whole way, but knowing that because I'm doing this and because I'm working at this, that I'm going to gain this treasure. Now, this isn't all bad because Venus is sitting there as well. And so it's reminding you that the difference between pain and pleasure is the two sides of the coin, the yin and yang. And so there is that one cannot exist without the other. And there's a big awareness here. And I think that we see this in, you know, the situations that have happened over the course of the year, you know, and this is, of course, you know, everybody is doing the things that have happened over the last year in the very individual way. So I don't mean to minimize anybody's losses or you know, what somebody is going through, but there is there are a lot of people who have found that, yes, you know, it's been hard to not be able to socialize, but now they've gotten to spend more time with their children or family members, and that they could see that as being, you know, the benefits of being away from social situations, or that they have, you know, been able to then work from home, and that means avoiding the commute, and so that gives them more time for other things and other activities. And so that could be, you know, one small way that people are using a Chiron, a wounding of sorts, to actually find some benefit or find the pearl in the oyster. So overall, when we combine all of these energies together, we get an energy of doing the best with what we have. And that is, you know, being adaptable, considering, you know, the welfare of yourself as well as others, of looking around and saying, you know, I know that I'm now stronger because of all of the stuff that I've been through. Now, interestingly, Uranus is also at 8, so it's making a semi-sextile to the Sun, Chiron, Venus, and making the inconjunct to the Moon. And so Uranus wants freedom, and it wants to go its own way, and it wants to be independent. It wants to throw off rules and say, you know, I'm just going to go my own way. But it is interesting because it's actually not in harmony with that Moon, and so it is really saying, you know, I can't get what I need if I'm completely independent. And so there is this need to adapt to something that you don't want to adapt to. And it's interesting too, because both Uranus, which is about change, and the Moon that changes constantly, both these objects are about adapting, but they are in this inhospitable connection. And so they're both saying, well, I'm not going to adapt. I want you to adapt, and so forth. So there is this kind of pushing back and saying, you know, I want my freedom, but I also want to be part of the collective. And so how that would manifest very much in a practical sense is that you might be feeling that other people have it better than you have, and not looking at their full circumstances. You know, you're seeing a slice of their life, and so you're thinking that, wow, they have it so good and I don't. But then also taking the step of saying, and I don't want to change. I don't want to change my life so I can be like they are. So you can put yourself in this situation where you are stuck, where you are literally sabotaging yourself because you're both saying, I want what somebody else has, but I'm unwilling to go and change to make that happen. Okay, so that was the harder, the truth, the bare naked, we gotta deal with what this is. But on the positive side, of course, the Uranus in conjunct Moon can bring sudden connections, especially romantic ones. And when we tie Venus in there, you could easily fall in love with someone who is so different than your usual that, that kind of shocks your friends or your parents. It is that you can find people that you connect with you never expected that you would have something in common with, that you throw off things that are the usual or the ordinary, and you go a new direction, and that opens up new worlds for you. Now, this is going on with that North Node making a trine to Saturn. And so the North Node is your life path. That's what you should do. If you, I shouldn't say should, if you do your North Node, you will be happy. But it's a stretch. It feels like it's outside of your comfort zone. It's down a path that you haven't traveled before, and so therefore it can be a little nerve-wracking. And then Saturn has a similar energy in the sense it is the hard work and discipline, and it is trying to overcome what you consider a limitation. So wherever Saturn is in your chart, you are going to feel like you're less than. And as you work at it, as you do extra because you feel less, you're able to climb the mountain to get to the top to actually become, the expert of this thing. And so people who have, say, Saturn in the 7th house, who may feel that they struggle with relating to others or relating in an interpersonal relationship, they're the ones who become the psychologist or the marriage counselor. Or, likewise, a person who perhaps has Saturn in the 6th house who struggles so much with their own health, they're the ones who become the nurse or the doctor. So when we have these two points now, the Saturn, the planet, and the North Node, this point out in space, when we have these in harmonious aspect as they are, what happens is we can find the thing that we are supposed to do, basically our destiny. And by destiny, I mean what your potential is. I don't mean that something is predetermined, or because I'm not a fatalistic astrologer. I know there are plenty out there, but I believe that you have the ability to change your life direction. But like steering any big boat, it takes some work to change directions. You can't turn on a dime. And so we get these rare opportunities like the Saturn trine North Node where you can actually turn your direction and enter a new road, enter a new period of your life. So with this, now, of course, Saturn will demand that you work hard at this, that because you're trudging up a mountain. And the North Node says you have to go on a path you've never been. And so, yeah, if you're feeling nervous about the direction you're going with your career or your relationships or things like that, you're actually going the right direction. If you feel like you're in uncharted waters and you don't know if there's the edge of the earth coming up or a big dragon going to swallow up your boat, then you are actually going the right direction. So overall, I think that this energy is about, as above, so below. And that is that what you're putting out there into the world, what you're wishing for, and basically the actions that you're taking to bring something and manifest it on earth, that all can happen this time. So that is, spend the next 2 weeks basically leaning in, working hard towards goals that you have, and let go of any insecurities that you might be feeling at least for the moment. I know it's hard to let go of them permanently because, insecurities disappear with practice and experience and time. But if you can, as Marissa Peer would say, if you can make the unfamiliar familiar, well, then you recognize that anything coming up that's unfamiliar will become familiar with practice. So again, I want to be practical about this, and we're going to talk more about the practicalities for each sign in a moment. But basically, to use this energy, you want to take direct action towards your goals, even though it's going to be a lot of work and it seems a little scary. Okay, now we're going to go sign by sign. So for Aries natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of relationships, and that means that relationships are highlighted. That could be relationships of all kinds. So that could be looking for a new love relationship, getting more established with the person you're dating now, or bringing in best friends and, business partners, people like that. So you want to be very clear about what you're looking for. Remember, we're sending our messages to the universe more this time than usual. And so you want to be quite clear about what it is you want to attract in your life, and then that will manifest into a person. And of course, that the universe always likes to bring all the gifts with a lesson attached. And so if you are willing to work on the lesson that comes with the relationship opportunity or business opportunity, then the universe is more than happy to gift wrap something for you and hand it right to you. So it is, if you are willing to do the work, the universe is here to give you the resources that you need. The North Node trine Saturn energy is affecting your communication house as well as your house of friendships and community. So, of course, this points to the idea of getting out your message into the community. And this could be through groups or organizations, maybe joining more groups or taking more of a leadership role in a group. This is also about honing your abilities to communicate. So that is not just, giving some very generic post to somebody else to post for you, but actually looking at quality communications that you have with fewer people, not trying to blanket the airwaves with your message. Now we have additional relationship energy for you because Venus is making a sextile to Mars, and that does mean that if you're looking for love, you have some great opportunities to do so. This is one of the best aspects you've had in a while, so I would really suggest that you go out and see if you can get on an online dating site or if you can get someone to fix you up. You have really good prospects this time. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that moon in the 7th house, and that is about connecting with people outside of the home. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're bringing people into the home, but there is something going on where you're needing to connect with people who live outside of your dwelling. And so maybe it is that you're looking for a new home, or that you are just needing to get out of the house a little bit. So, and this can still be done, of course, in our modern age of technology from the home. So you can be reaching out through electronic means, or you could just be getting out into the world. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Venus that is part of our 5/8, and that means that you are not only manifesting things that you are considering or thinking about, but that you are doing more money where you put your name on things. And that is, even if you work for someone else, to stand up in the meeting and say, this is my idea. It is to put your face on things, if you are writing a book or you are doing some sort of music or things like that, to make sure that your name or your face are on all of your publicity, because the more people see you, the more money you're going to make. Now, when we look at your investments or your income from business, the Venus is not making an aspect to the Pluto, but it is making an aspect to the co-ruler Mars, and that is a sextile, and that means the If you take action, then you can manifest opportunities. And so I do think that you'll be making more money over this period than usual. And that is when you focus on it, when you concentrate on it, then you have some opportunities. That means it doesn't come automatically, so you have to take the action, but then you get the win. When it comes to your money derived from career, you have a little bit of mixed energy because you are doing a great aspect in the sense that it is exact, but it's a semi-sextile, so it's a little bit irritating. And this means that you are making more money than usual, but you're doing something that maybe you don't enjoy so much, that you're looking for more freedom. And unfortunately, you would have to trade freedom for money. And so therefore, I think that you're probably working more hours, or you're working with someone you don't care for so much, and you are feeling that you are just kind of buckling down and doing it because you want the cash. Now, probably the best aspect you have is for money derived from risky investments, and this is these longer-term investments, things like buying a franchise or a business, or, starting your own YouTube channel and having it grow really, really slowly. You are doing the Sun conjunct Venus, and that is one of the best aspects you can get. And so this does say that you have more opportunities to make and accumulate money during this time. It also means that you can make great headway through negotiations or even just finding what it is that you want to do. So I really encourage you to take action in this area. Of course, if you're thinking about investing, be really cautious, do your due diligence and make sure that you really understand the investment you're getting into, but the aspects are good for you this time. So for Taurus natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of habits and routines. And so this is a great time to look at how what you do on a daily basis is adding up to the life you want or is in your way. And so if you find that you are just in this constant battle with yourself, trying to get yourself to do the steps necessary to achieve your goals, it may be time to step back and say, is this something that I really want, or is it something that I feel that I just should do? Are you taking a route that other people have chosen? And yes, it may be successful for them, but it's not one that you love. Maybe you look at the route that you would like to take and you think that it's not practical or it's not going to lead to something. Or perhaps you're just sitting there saying, I don't know what route to take. And so the energy here says that you do have to really focus on where you feel that you might not be as capable, or you might need to work harder, or you might need to focus a little more. And all of this comes by shutting off the social media for a while, shutting off all of the external distractions for a little bit, and just asking yourself the question of what direction should I go, or could I go, if I knew I wasn't going to fail? If I knew I was going to be successful, where would I want to, put my time and energy? When we look at the North Node trine Saturn, this is definitely career energy for you. The North Node's in your house of money and the Saturn's in the house of the career. And so this does indicate that you are looking at what you're doing for a living and deciding if that's the way you want to be making money. And of course, that's a huge question. You've already put a lot of time and effort and energy into whatever career you have. And so to just flippantly say, oh, you should do something else, is not thinking about all of the investment that you've made so far. So I'm not suggesting that that is what you should be doing, but because this is a trine, it says that there is an avenue that is opening up where you could slip into something that is more enjoyable, more profitable, if you give it some thought. Now, again, it is about finding that path that is one that speaks to you but takes you into a new territory. This is not going back to something you've done before. This is not going to do the thing that maybe your parents did or something like that. This is about blazing new territory and going a new direction. When we look at your love life, you are kind of buried in the 12th house right now, and that means that you are not maybe so accessible for a life partner to find you, or just even friendships to find you. You're working behind the scenes. You're not really kind of showing yourself at the moment. But that said, that even though the Venus is not making an aspect to Pluto, it is making that sextile to Mars. So you do have an opportunity, but it does show that either you're doing a relationship in secret, and so you're meeting somebody in some sort of secret liaison, or you are just waiting until you know that it's right because you are working on something else. So if you're feeling like you're not connecting with people, it's because people are having trouble finding you. So just make yourself more findable. Your home life is also recognized by the sun in the 12th house. And so therefore, again, you look very behind the scenes. You are not going out so much. You are kind of hunkering down at home, and which is interesting. So because it feels like a little bit of the opposite of what a lot of people are doing at this time. But, you know, it could be out of prudence, or it could be out of, you know, just caution, or, you know, I think that it's probably a good idea because, well, the sun is in the 12th house, so this is what you should be doing. And so if you're feeling like, oh, I need to get out of the house, the energies are saying, no, it's okay to stay home, at least for another 2 weeks. When we look at your money, you do have now Mars going through your second house, which means that you are taking much more decisive action to make money. You might have a goal of paying down debt, or perhaps you're saving for something big. And so there is a great deal of focus on making more money. Now you're pulling money from that Mercury up in the 11th house, which means that some of the focus is on regular income or income derived from career. So you might be looking at more conventional means of making money. Rather than, say, doing something like, you know, starting your own business or something. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make money from your own business, but it just means that your focus is on more conventional means of making money. When we look at your investments or money derived from your business, you are doing a semi-sextile between Mercury and Jupiter, and that is this mixed news that I'm going to be giving pretty much throughout this whole talk, which is that yes, you are making more money, but no, you're not really enjoying the work that you're doing. And that could be that you're doing a little bit more drudgery, or, you know, bookkeeping or things like that. Maybe you are having to put in more hours. It's just, it seems less enjoyable than usual, but more profitable. And so that's where you have to kind of balance those energies. Now, your money derived from career does look much better. It is Mercury conjunct Neptune, and so we do see this as a great opportunity for you to get a raise, or to get more hours, or even to shift into a better position where you could make more money. So you have some of the best energy connected to money derived from career. Now, if you own a business and so that's not necessarily working for someone else, that is an indication that you should, you know, don on the work shirt and go work side by side with your employees. And as you do that, you are activating that 11th house. And so that's a way that you could make more money. When we look at your income from risky business, we also have some good energy, because not only is this Mercury making some good aspects with the conjunction to Neptune, and that little wimpy semi-sextile to Jupiter, but also Mars is in Gemini. And so there is a real opportunity for you to amass more money through some sort of risky venture. And by risky venture, you know, that can be something that's very unconventional, like some strange investment that you're doing. It also could be something you've been working on for a long time, you know, writing a book, or maybe doing your art, where you're suddenly putting it out into the world and people are noticing it. And so there is a little bit better energy this time for you. I just said little bit. It's probably actually really good. I actually like it a lot because of that Mars in Gemini. It's really activating this energy. So I really feel like you should lean into this. And as always, I'm going to tell you to be cautious when doing risky investments, because they're risky. Now, Gemini natives, you guys are doing this full moon, lighting up your house of kids, fertility, fun, romance, creativity. And so this is the focus for the next 2 weeks. And so if you are spending a lot of time with the kids, that would make sense. Maybe they're on spring break or something. Perhaps you are working on some fertility and wanting to add to the family, and that could even be a pet. Or you are doing something creative. All of those things are the focus this time. And so, with the energies that we were talking about, it is very important that you utilize this energy of the 8, which is, what you're putting out there in the world, you are manifesting on Earth. And so if what you have been manifesting hasn't made you happy, then you want to focus on thinking new thoughts and doing new actions so that you can get better results. Now, when it comes to the Saturn trine North Node, the North Node, of course, is in your sign of Gemini. And when the North Node is in your sign, there can be that feeling that you're working really hard, like pushing a boulder uphill, and every time you take a break, it slides back down a little bit. And so you may not be feeling the progress, and you might not until the North Node goes into Taurus, which is still a little ways. But you can actually be making progress in the world. And so other people may be telling you you're making some amazing progress, and you're going to say, I don't see it. Now, what you have here is this connection between the North Node and the Saturn being up in the house of religion, faith, belief. And so there is this kind of necessity right now to bring in the higher power and to say, I'm connecting with the universe, I'm connecting with the source of all things. And so feeling a little bit more guided by things, looking at the signs, studying the astrology, things like that are really going to help you at this time. When we look at relationships, you have a lot of energy for meeting and connecting with someone, but it is a semi-sextile, and so you're going to find somebody who you both are attracted to, who irritates you in some way. It's almost like they're not quite what you were looking for, but I encourage you to move forward anyway, to explore why this person has come into your life, what's going on, what is the universe trying to tell you here. The Mars in Gemini does indicate that you might get more than one prospect if you're looking for love, or that, more acquaintances, more friends are coming along, and so you can expand your circle, which is really great. But just recognize that with everything that's happening while you're doing that semi-sextile for the next couple of weeks, there is this idea that it's not entirely comfortable. It's just a little bit like, ugh. So, and when you recognize that, then you can make an adjustment. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that Mercury up in the 10th house, and that means that your focus is really out in the world and not so much at home. That could be that you are actually going back into the office, and so you're away from home, or perhaps you're traveling or things like that, or you are spending a lot of time thinking about other people who live outside of the home. So there's not a lot of focus on home and family right now, and I think that's perfectly fine because, this is just 2 weeks. And so go ahead and focus on externals, and then you will get back to home and family, I'm sure, on the next time. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that moon in your house of risk-taking and creativity. It is very much about looking at the bigger picture and what you would like to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or if you could do something, with your life, what is the biggest thing that you could think to do? And sometimes when you think of that, when you're shooting for the moon, like they say, then at least you hit the mountaintop. And so if you're thinking, how can I make my interest a global concern, well, then it's much more likely to spread through the country, or at least the county. And so this is the energy for money. As you are thinking big, as you are thinking of taking risks, as you are thinking about doing something beyond the circle that you're doing now, you make more money. When it comes to your investments, passive income sources, that's affiliate marketing, royalties, residuals, and also business income, the moon is making a trine to Saturn this time, and so you have the opportunity to make much more money than usual. And so this is a time to accumulate money. That means go for the sale, go for the big service package, put out the different offerings that you do. Also look at your investments and see what sort of profits you should be taking. There may be some shifts in the market in the future, and so maybe you're looking at taking profits now. So everything's lining up to be quite positive for you over the next 2 weeks. And when we look at your money derived from career, not only do you have an excellent house with Sun, Chiron, Venus all at 8 degrees, but the moon is making a trine to Mars, which is forming a grand trine with that Saturn. So this is one of your best 2-week periods that you're going to have all year long for making money. And so again, that is about leaning in. So if you want to sell something, if you want to ask for a raise, if you want to do anything related with money, this is the time to do it. And finally, that takes us to the risky investments that we always talk about as being more long-term or ones that you have to put a lot of time or money into. And the moon is doing the opposition to Venus, and it's exact. And so again, here we have the trifecta going on of money from investments, money from career, and money from risky investments, all lining up to be possibilities for you this time. So I'm really expecting you Gemini natives to do some amazing things over the next 2 weeks. Do not get distracted on other things, but look for what you can do to make the bigger money this time. For Cancer natives, this full moon is lighting up your house of home and family, and so there's a lot of energy around that. That could mean that you are moving, or that you've just moved and you're unpacking. It could mean that you are spending a lot of time talking to family members, especially ones in the home, or that you're doing some home repairs or renovations. And so all of that is really good. This is a time to be looking at your home and saying, is this where I want to be? And start to think about what you're sending out in the area of wishes and hopes for your dwelling and your family, and what is coming back. And so if what you have in your life is not what you want, then you need to be putting out different seeds into the universe to attract something else. When we look at the North Node trine Saturn, you have an interesting thing going on because the North Node is in your 12th house. And so this is an time in your life where you may not be as clear about what it is that you really should be doing or want to be doing. And so there is this sort of like feeling your way in the dark. And at the same time, the Saturn is restricting resources. And so you may think, well, even if I wanted to do something, I don't have the time or energy or money to do it. Now, all of this is the surface of it, because underneath that is that you are being divinely, let me try that again. You are being defined. Okay, third time's the charm. You are divinely guided at this time because the North Node is in the 12th house, and with the Saturn in the 8th, it says that the resources that you need will open up when you need them. So this is just one of those cases of you leap first and then the net appears. Now, it's still challenging because you're not going to be sure about what direction you're supposed to go. So the solution is to go any direction, and that is to try different things and see what you like, what speaks to you, because that's the guiding force right now. When it comes to relationships, you have some very good energy this time because the moon is making a trine to Saturn. And because that Saturn is what we were just talking about resources, people that you meet now could be amazing resources, not just for advice or encouragement, but also actual, monetary assistance. So you want to be out there meeting new people and connecting, expanding your circle of friends, or finding a love relationship if that's what you're looking for. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that Venus at the top of your chart, which means that there is a lot of energy going outward away from the home, which is interesting because if you've just moved to a new place, well, then you're out and about, you know, trying to find the grocery store and the gas station and all of that. Or if you are at home thinking about moving, maybe you are actually searching on the web for your next location. So there's a lot of focus outward. And again, you know, where you're meeting new people and they are bringing you resources, all of that is really helping. Now you are pulling money from that sun right at the pinnacle of your chart, the very, very top. That means that if you say, I'm in charge or I'm responsible or I will take over this, then more money comes to you. So you have excellent prospects for getting a new job, for connecting with important people, for getting recognition in your job. So anytime though that you are saying, you know what, I'll be in charge of the team or I'll take more responsibility or things like that, money can flow in. When we look at your money from investments or business income, you're doing a semi-sextile between the Sun and Uranus, and this does indicate that there are some amazing opportunities, but none of them are that comfortable. And so it's going to feel like, you know, investing maybe in things that are a little bit boring or not that exciting, or that you're having to read the prospectuses or do other things that you find rather irksome, but those are the things that are going to bring you money. It may also mean that you're passing up on some different investments, and you'll find out later that that was the prudent and correct thing to do. And the same with business. You're having to do some of the day-to-day activities that you don't really like to do, but those are the things that could bring you profits now. And what this all adds up to is over the next 2 weeks, I expect you to be making more money than usual. Now, some of the best energy is in money derived from career because the Sun is making a conjunction to that Venus, and that means that you have big opportunities when it comes to asking for a raise, getting a new job, or even just working more hours. This is more money in your pocket, so you want to take advantage of this and make sure that you are seen by your supervisor, that you tell your customers to write you a recommendation or, you know, a good review or things like that. Really take advantage of this energy. Now, when it comes to risky investments, which we define as very unusual investments or investments that take a lot of cash, like buying a business, or investments that take a lot of time, right now you are not doing a great aspect because the Sun is not making an aspect to Pluto. And even though it is making an aspect to Mars and it's a sextile, the Mars is hidden in your 12th house, and so it may not be as clear. And so I would caution you this time over the next 2 weeks, just work at your long-term investments really slowly. Avoid signing anything in a rush, avoid signing anything you don't understand. Don't get yourself involved in things where, all the terms are really fuzzy. So look at things before you leap into something because the aspects aren't as strong for you this month. I said this month, I mean over the next 2 weeks. Okay, Leo natives, you guys are doing this energy in your house of communication, and this means that there is a focus on how you communicate with others, how you talk to yourself and what you say in your own head, as well as contracts and agreements and things like that. So it's possible that you are taking some sort of standardized test, and so you need to study. It is possible that you've been doing a lot of negative self-talk, and that has to change. And whatever you're doing when it comes to communication or paperwork or things like that, remember what you're putting out into the universe is what you are manifesting. And so you certainly want to change, especially how you speak to yourself. It's hard enough to find supportive people in the world, but if you're not supportive of yourself, then you have no advocate. And so at least be as kind and considerate to yourself as you would be to anybody else in the world. And so, yes, be nice to yourself. So when it comes to that trine between the North Node and Saturn, the interesting thing is while this is more about your life path, it is very oriented towards other people this time, which means that other people may have some clues for you about where you should be heading. And so it's interesting too, because the Saturn's in the 7th house, and so as you ask someone, what direction should I be heading, you're probably going to be met with pessimism and, oh, you have to work so hard and you'll never be able to do it, all of this negative talk. But if you instead look at what they are doing and say, how can I do that differently? How can I do it the way I want to do it? That's where you get the information. And then the North Node connects you to the right community, to the right people who could help your idea grow. So you are not going so much to ask other people, what should you do? But ask other people, what are you doing? And let them talk about what it is they're doing, and you're going to gain some insight that way. When it comes to relationships, you're doing a semi-sextile between the Sun and Uranus, which means that other people are irritating right now. And that doesn't necessarily mean you can't find love or you can't have a great relationship, but it means two things. First of all, the person that you're interacting with could be irritating to you. And that is that you meet the most wonderful person, but I don't know, they drive really erratically, or they own a fish and you have something against fish. So something like that. So some parts, some aspect irritates you. But the other side of that is that you might be in a relationship that is irritating to others, and that is that maybe you're crossing a boundary that your family doesn't normally cross. Maybe it's, interfaith, and so because you believe different things, your family's like, ooh, I don't know if this is a match for you, etc. Or it could be long distance, and so you're irritated by that. But this irritation's not huge. It's not debilitating irritation. It's just if you focus on it and allow it to nag at you, it can be a problem. This is kind of like a rock in your shoe. It can be something that you go, oh, next time I have an opportunity, I'm going to stop and get the rock out of my shoe. Or you're going to say, this is ruining everything. It's all I can feel is the rock. I can't see the scenery. When it comes to your home life, you're pulling energy from that Pluto, of course, that we talk about every time, but also that Mars, which is now in your 11th house, and that is about connecting with friends. And so it's almost like you are being pulled out of the house to connect with friends. Maybe you're doing outdoor picnics, or you are, just going on walks or things like that. Maybe you are still at home, but you're reaching out to them and communicating with them. But there's a focus outward. This also talks about a focus in the community itself. So that is getting involved in civic matters, maybe talking about building a community park or a community garden or something like that. So, of course, you can tell I'm from California. I'm already talking about gardening. So, sorry for you guys who are in snow. I know I do that much too soon. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is in the 8th house, which means that some of what it is that you're pulling is based on the resources that you have available from others. And that's something that you might want to tap into. And so that is, maybe even just making the small little amounts through your credit card rewards, or that you are looking at bank loans to consolidate some debt, or that you are really focused on investing and looking at your 401k situation and things like that this time. When it comes to your money from investments or business income, you have a very good aspect because Mercury is making a conjunction to Neptune. And so you have opportunities to gain some profits over the next 2 weeks. And this is where you are combining your vision, which is Neptune, with the practical actions. And so this is very much about getting into the paperwork and understanding the trajectory of things, really feeling what the market is doing and being aware of, what your customers want and things like that. So you have an opportunity over the next 2 weeks, not only to gain more profits, but to gain some real insights into the direction your business should be going. Now you have excellent energy for money derived from career because that Mercury is doing the good aspects, but it also rules the Mars, which is in your house of money derived from career. So you have that double bonus energy, and that means go for the promotion, go for the extra job. You could easily get a job offer this time. You could get a second job. You could get more hours. You could get a better commission schedule. So I see you having a great opportunity to make more money over the next 2 weeks. And then finally, when we look at risky investments, you are doing the semi-sextile between Mercury and Jupiter being that it's still going through the Earth's 7th house, and it will be for a while. It says that you are hearing from other people, you know, maybe they're making so much money, but you're not, or that they're saying something is easy, but you're not finding it to be so, because the semi-sextile is this terribly irritating aspect. And so there's a little bit of profits to be made, but in general, it almost feels like it's more trouble than it's worth. And so, you know, it might be best to focus on more sure things this time and put the bigger type of investments on the back burner for a couple of weeks. Hey, Virgo natives, you guys are doing the full moon in your house of money. And so this brings a lot of attention over the next 2 weeks to your financial picture. And so sometimes what the moon can do is bring a sense of insecurity because the moon is the most changeable of all of the objects in space. It is constantly appearing and then disappearing and then reappearing. But it also, because it's the full moon, it's lighting this up and showing you what you need to look at when it comes to your money and possessions. So you might be looking around and saying, oh, great, I have a house full of possessions and I might not be using all of those. So looking at selling off some things might be good. But also it is, you know, that perhaps you spend some time really working on your finances and then you forget about them and then everything kind of goes to hell in a handbasket, and then you start focusing on your finances again and you're coming in and out doing it that way. So this time is a time to, you know, take this gigantic spotlight and really shine it into the dark corners of how you deal with money, you know, what your attitudes are, what your family's attitudes were about money, and how that's affecting you today. Especially when it comes to this 8 energy that we're talking about, is what you are putting out into the world is what you're manifesting. And so there's a very strong need this time to look at self-worth issues because and it's kind of hard to believe sometimes, but it doesn't matter how much experience you have or what degrees you have or any of those things. If you feel worthy, you will gain opportunities. And that's the bottom line. It's just about, you know, taking where you feel unworthy and letting go of that so that you can come into a state of worthiness. When it comes to that North Node trine Saturn, the North Node is in your house of career, bringing you some career opportunities, but the Saturn's in your house of work, bringing you lots of drudgery and perhaps tasks that not only that you don't like, but you don't know how to do. And so there's a great deal of focus necessary on how can I streamline what I'm doing? How can I automate it? How can I get better at it? I don't think that with that Saturn you'll be able to delegate or eliminate things at this time. I think it's more of just putting in the sweat and the hard work so that you can get quite good at it. And that's what's going to really bring you the bigger opportunities. And the opportunities are coming because this is a great aspect, but it's necessary for you to say, okay, I want the new job, but that does mean I'm going to be in a situation where I don't know how to do things, that things will be new for me, and be willing to lean in and do those things. You have great relationship energy this time because Mercury's making a conjunction to Neptune, and so there is opportunities to meet someone new. You have a great house of intimacy going on, so there could be lots of fun for and frolicking and all that kind of stuff, you know, stuff we don't normally talk about on this channel. So you really want to get out there and meet new people this time, you know, either through online dating or have somebody fix you up on a first date. This is good energy for meeting friends and expanding your circle in general. So, and again, this is energy of, you know, envisioning something because the Neptune is involved, and then taking the practical action to reach out and have a phone conversation, or, you know, but like try and get it off of text and go right to voice, because this is a quite psychic combination. And so when you hear the person's voice, it'll be like your souls coming together, and then you will have a knowledge of whether to move forward or not. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that Jupiter, which of course is going through your 6th house. And so, you know, this harkens back to that idea of doing tasks and things like that we were talking about with the Saturn. And that is, you know, look at how you are keeping the house, how you're getting through all the chores, and see what you can streamline or automate or make better. Now, because it's Jupiter, you can delegate and you can eliminate. And so by having less stuff in your life, maybe you can eliminate some tasks, or maybe you can hire somebody or talk some family members into helping out, or things like that. So you are doing positive energy, but it's very focused on the daily routines right now. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus up in the 8th house, and that does say that money is definitely going to be flowing in, which is fantastic. It is part of all those eights, the planets at 8, and so that's about what are you thinking about, what seeds are you planting, what are you putting out in the world, because that's what you're manifesting here on Earth. And so that is, if you're not getting the results you want to be very focused on your affirmations and your visualization. This is a great time to do a vision board or to update the one you have. When it comes to your money derived from business sources or passive income sources, you are doing some great energy. You have Sun, Chiron, Venus in that house, plus the Venus is making a sextile to the Mars. So it's quite likely that you are going to make and accumulate more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. It means that you could find some really great investments, that you could make some great sales in your business, or expand your territory, or get some free publicity or something like that. So you have some great aspects this time, so lean in. When it comes to money derived from career, you are doing the opposition between Moon and Venus, and so that is also extremely good for making more money in your for your regular job. So you might be getting more hours. There might be some sort of bonus or something, because the Venus is up in that 8th house, and so you've got all of these, and the Moon is in Libra, so we have multiple connections here. So, you know, there could be some sort of bonus or a windfall. Maybe you're getting some stock in your name and it's being vested, and so therefore you have access to it. But some sort of windfall can come your way related to your career. This is also really excellent for getting a new job. Maybe there's a signing bonus or something like that. And then when it comes to risky investments, you are doing some good energy with that too, because that is the Venus sextile the Saturn. And so there is some opportunities now. It is going to be outside your comfort zone. It's going to be something that is going to take some serious work, because that is said by the sextile and by the Saturn. But if you do it, you do have some ability to gather some profits this time. So, you know, really consider moving forward, of course, prudently, you know, reading all the paperwork, not signing something you don't understand, but recognizing that, you know, there's a set of responsibilities, and if you take those responsibilities, you could make more money. So Libra natives, this is your full moon, and so for the next 2 weeks, the eyes of the world are on you. And that means you have more opportunities when it comes to connecting with others, relationships, and things like that. If you have, been doing your work and planting some seeds out in the world, maybe through advertising, marketing, social media, online dating sites and all that, you are bound to get more responses this time. So that's really good. This is part of all of those eights, and that means that you can also be putting things out to the universe, and that is through visualization or affirmation or lighting a candle or doing prayer. And as you do, then the vibration of the universe is in harmony with your own vibration, and more opportunities come to you. When we look at that North Node trine Saturn, the interesting part is the North Node is in that house of adventure and exploration and all that. And the Saturn is down there in that house of creativity. And it says that, is as you're working to give birth to something, you're still feeling very uncertain about it. And that's kind of tethering you and holding you back from the adventure. And there's a need right now to see how long that tether is, to actually say, what's the bigger step that I could take? With this North Node in the ninth house, it is to think bigger, to think on, like if you're thinking about the community, think about the city. If you're thinking about the city, think about the country and the world and the universe and all of that. It's like, what can you do that reaches more people with your message? And all the time, of course, while you're creating, you might be thinking, well, this is terrible, it's not going to go, I'm not happy with it. And you have to push on, because it's only through the experience of doing something and even failing, doing it badly, that you can get better at it. Now, when it comes to relationships, you have an amazing relationship house this time, not just for new love, but for friendships, for connections of all kinds, business associates, influencers, all of this, because the Venus is making a sextile with the Mars. The Venus is in your house of relationships. Also, you have the Sun in the house of relationships, the Moon in your own house. And so there is so much lit up for relationships, that if you want a relationship in your life, if you want to meet new people, now's the time to start thinking about it, put it out to the universe, and then start knocking on some doors and see what opens. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that Saturn, and of course you're going to be doing that a long time. But the Saturn is making some very interesting aspects this time, which most notably is a trine to the Moon and a trine to Mars, forming a grand trine. So you do have more luck in this area this time, and that is quite helpful if you're looking for a new place to live, or if you are settling into a place but have, like still some things you need to do. You need to find someone to put on a roof, or you're having discussions with a landlord or things like that. But I'm not anticipating many problems, because your focus seems to be elsewhere. And so the most I think is you might be doing some decluttering, cleaning things up, and maybe finishing some big projects. But that's the majority of the focus at home. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Pluto in the fourth house, as you always do. And so therefore, money can be made at home or through the home, such as real estate or residential home investments or things like that. But you're also pulling money from that Mars. And that Mars is back to that point of saying, think big. What can you expand? How far can you reach? And so this is when you apply your knowledge, or when you teach, or when you basically go for the adventure. That's when you're going to make money. When it comes to investment income as well as income from your business, you are doing no aspect between Venus and Pluto, but you are doing a sextile between Venus and Mars. And so therefore, I do expect you'll be making more money this time than usual. This comes from taking some sort of action, because a sextile does require an action. And so it is almost like asking for more. So it's asking for the upsell. It's asking for, the referral or something like that. So there's a great deal of communication with others to gain this money. When it comes to your money derived from career, the Pluto is not making an aspect to the Sun, But the Mars is making an aspect to the Sun. And so you do have an opportunity. Again, it's a sextile. And so therefore, you know, if you ask for a raise, there is some possibilities of getting it. What I'm expecting is that someone may come in from a company that you used to work for, or perhaps somebody you used to work for has moved on to a different company and now they're making you some sort of offer. So I'm expecting there to be a connection with somebody else, and that's bringing you more money. It's also possible that you're taking somebody else's shifts and so you have more hours, but it does look like you have an opportunity to make more money over the next 2 weeks. So when it comes to risky investments, now this is where it gets a little complicated, because you have a lot of different energies always to contend with. First of all, risky investments, of course, are ones that take a lot of time, energy, or resources to get going, or they're so unusual that people don't really get them. You know, and that does include all of the cryptocurrencies and all these non-fungible tokens and all of this other stuff. So when you are considering this, you know, I'm looking at both the natural rulers and the co-rulers, or I should say, I'm looking at the traditional rulers and the modern rulers and seeing where the connections are. But that's why it's always a little bit complicated for you when I look at this. So there is not an aspect going on between Pluto and Uranus. However, there is one between Mars and Uranus, although it's just a semi-sextile. But then if we look at the co-ruler of Aquarius, and that's Saturn, then we get the trine. But I feel like we're having to ping pong things a little bit. Now, here's why I think there is this incredible opportunity for you, but I still want to caution you. Okay, so follow this. Saturn is in Aquarius, and Aquarius rules Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, and that is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Aries, which rules the Mars. And so we have all of these planets who, you know, normally I'm trying to pull together to see, you know, how they are working with your house of risky investments. And right now they are talking to each other in this unique way. So I think that there is some huge opportunity for you, but it is way outside the comfort zone, or it is attached to a pretty big level of responsibility, and that's going to obligate your time, energy, or money. And so you want to look at this quite carefully, and you only have 2 weeks. so no pressure. But this, if you've been thinking about doing something, now's the time to really lean in and look at it, because all of these planets are talking to each other in this very unique way. Okay, Scorpio natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of psychic ability, spirituality. Also, though, it's your shadow self. It's lighting up the parts of yourself that you don't necessarily like to look at, which actually for Scorpio natives is quite amazing, because you guys are the best at looking at the things that other people don't want to look at. So this is a time where you can really clear out some of the gunk that is in your life. I mean, letting go of, you know, old hurts, letting go of, you know, mistakes that you made, let go of the things that have disappointed you in your life, and kind of just clear that out. And this could be done, you know, through something spiritual, you know, that could be prayer or fasting or something like that, or you could do some journaling or things like that. But you have an opportunity now that is shining that spotlight. You have an opportunity to shine the spotlight on these areas, and when you actually do face them in the light, they're going to disappear, and that's going to be very helpful. When we look at what's going on with that North Node Saturn, the North Node is in that house of resources, which means that you have resources that are available to you to go do what you want to do. But the Saturn's down in the 4th house saying this is not necessarily what your family wants you to do. And this could be, you know, parents who are not in your life so much anymore. Maybe they've gone on to the other side, or maybe now they say, oh no, whatever you want to do is fine, but you're still hearing them as they were 20 years ago. So this is the idea that you're using something from your upbringing or something from your family to hold you back, to kind of put on these cement galoshes and not allow yourself to fly. So this is for you kind of a wake-up call that yes, you have the resources now available to you. That is, people who could help you go and do what you want, but you have to have the courage to, you know, like chip off these concrete galoshes so that you can start moving forward. When it comes to relationships, you don't have an aspect going on between Venus and Pluto, but you do have a sextile between Venus and Mars is in your house of intimacy. So you could get lucky this time. There is some good relationship energy for meeting somebody new, especially where there's a strong physical attraction, or having a lot of intimacy with your sweetheart right now. This also can bring some opportunities for meeting just general people, you know, like people who could help open up some doors for you resource-wise. So business people, people to collaborate with, etc. So when it comes to your home life, you're pulling energy from that Uranus, which is part of all of those planets at 8 degrees. So it is really tied this time to tons of energy. And so there's all of this, you know, like the world is like knocking at your door. And that could mean maybe that you're moving, that you're negotiating a new place to live, maybe you're getting a roommate, or maybe the kids are moving back home or something like that. So there's a great deal of activity going on around your home and around the dwelling itself. So this could also mean that some repairs are going on, or perhaps you're just getting ready to do some sort of expansion or redecorating project. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Jupiter in the 4th house. And so there's not too much going on with that Jupiter this time. And so the energy is a little quieter. It says, you know, that you might be working at home, or that you might be working in something that makes people feel at home. So that can be home health care, or, you know, that you're a contractor or something like that. So, but it's more about that you're pulling money because of your family. You need money for your family, and so you're going out there and working for that money for that specific purpose. Now, when it comes to your investments or money from business, you do have some good energy here, because even though you have just a semi-sextile between Jupiter and Mercury, Mars in Gemini is in that house, and so you do have this ability to take more action, to get more done. Now, I think that you are making more money over the next 2 weeks, though I think it's kind of smaller than you were expecting, and that's where the irritation is coming in. So you're a little bit, yeah, it feels like it's more work than maybe worth it, although it could be something that grows in the future and that therefore gives you more in the long run. But I do see you making more money than usual. Now, you have some similar energy when it comes to money derived from career, but you don't have the Mars. And so, again, there is more money that you're making, but you're somehow irritated by it. So I feel like this is more money based on having more hours and not necessarily getting a raise. So that is that more money is flowing in. Perhaps you worked the hours before and you're finally getting paid. Maybe there was a mistake on your check and now they've corrected it and now you're getting more money. Or maybe, yeah, I can't even think of all the different things, like something you were paying off now is paid off, and so your paycheck's a little bigger. It's just showing that it's more of an irritation right now. And so yes, you're making more money, but it's either smaller than you expect or it's because you're working more. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and by those we mean very unusual investments or ones that take a lot of time, energy, or resource to get going, you are doing, again, another semi-sextile, and this is between Jupiter and Neptune. And so more profits can be made, but they are smaller than you expect. Additionally, there is more work or responsibilities that you need to take to get these things to happen. And that can be a little bit of a problem because the Neptune doesn't really want to do it. The Jupiter doesn't want to do it. So you may be faced with this idea that to make even more, you have to work more, but you'll work a little less, you make a little less. So Sagittarius natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of the future, friendships, and community. And so there's a big focus or spotlight on the future right now. And so even if you don't normally do goal setting or don't look at where you're going to be in 5 years or 10 years, this is the 2-week period where you want to do that. Additionally, it says that you can expand your circle of friends, find your tribe, find your community by getting out there and knocking on some doors. And that means you might be joining some groups or connecting with somebody who is part of a group, and therefore they open the door for you. And this kind of goes hand in hand with that North Node trine Saturn, because a North Node's in your house of relationships and other people, and Saturn's in your house of communication. And so there's a great deal of focus right now on communicating out into the world. And the interesting thing is, because of Saturn, it feels so restrictive, you might not feel like some communications are going that well, and yet you have to get out there anyway. And this says, you know, the North Node could open doors to people of great influence, people of power, people who owe you from a past life. So you could meet some people during this time that are fantastic, but there is a hesitation because you feel like maybe you don't know what to say, or you know, you don't feel like you'll express yourself well. And so that takes a little bit of effort, and that's where the little bit of risk comes in. When it comes to relationships in general, you know, you are doing a semi-sextile between Mercury and Jupiter, and so that would be irritating. But the Mars is in Gemini, which is ruled by that Mercury, and so you do have more opportunities to meet not just one new person in your life, but multiple people. And you could find people who are energetic and happy and can't wait to do things with you. And this could be a love relationship, but it also could be friendships, or somebody who wants to do business activities with you. So you definitely want to step out the door. When it comes to your home life, you're pulling energy from that Neptune, and you've got Mercury in there as well. So we have more movement right now in your home than we normally do, and that means that maybe somebody's moving in or somebody's moving out. There could be a movement in the neighborhood, like a neighbor is moving and you're noticing that change of energy. There could be some renovations going on, like your landlord is renovating the building or something like that. So we do have more movement, and you might benefit by moving things around in the house, maybe cleaning out the garage, or, you know, moving a sofa from the living room into the family room, or things like that. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn and your house of communications, which we have talked about for a while, and we will continue to talk about. But this time that Saturn is doing some really good aspects. Remember, it's doing the trine to the North Node, it's doing a trine to the Mars, and it is also doing a trine to that Moon, which makes a grand trine. And so you have more ability to bring in money than you have had in a long time. This is some of the best energy over the next 2 weeks for having a windfall that I have seen. So you want to take that opportunity and phone up somebody to, like, if somebody owes you money, if somebody says, hey, check in with me, I might have a job for you, any of those things, ask for the sale, ask for the contract. This is your best opportunity that I've seen for you in a long time. When it comes to investment income and money from your business, you are doing Saturn trine Moon, fantastic energy. That Moon is up in your house of community, and it's the full moon, so what could be better? It is saying, you know, here I am, bring me money. So I think you have some really great opportunities to make more money through your business or through your investments over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you have the moon up there spotlighting that area, plus you have a sextile between Saturn and Venus. And so if you're willing to take an action, if you're willing to do something that's outside of your comfort zone, you can definitely make more money this time. And that is, maybe you don't feel comfortable asking for a raise or asking for a better job, but if you could just push this time, you can make more money. You can secure something better. And finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that, take a lot of effort or time or resources to get going, you actually are doing some really good energy. First of all, the Saturn is making a trine to the Mars, and then second, the Sun and Venus, along with Chiron, are sitting there in that house. That all adds up to a potential windfall for you in this area. So if you'd already gotten something started, this could be the time where you sell a business, or that you find a partner who wants to be a silent partner and just wants to give you money to get this thing going. You could stumble into something that people don't know about and get in on the ground floor. This is a time to consider working for a startup, or getting with your buddy and starting a business together. So you have some really great energy. Of course, there's Saturn involved, so you have to lean in, you have to do the work, and it is outside your comfort zone. So, but you know what? You're Sagittarius, so you love adventure. So Capricorn natives, you guys are doing this full moon, lighting up your house of career, which makes you much more noticeable right now. That is, if you submit a resume, it's going to float to the top of the pile. You're likely to get a job interview. You could get a job offer. It also means that what you do out in social media is seen. So be careful about sending out anything controversial, but certainly focus on sending out positive messages about you and what you believe and about what you're offering, because that can go very well. When we look at the North Node Saturn combination, the North Node sitting in your house of routines and work says that it is through those small changes that you can build the life you want. But the Saturn in the second house says that you are nervous that you may not have the resources to support that, and that you say to yourself, okay, I have to have a job. It takes all my time and energy. I don't have time to pursue the stuff that I want to do. But remember, the North Node says that it's only these small things, because it's in the sixth house. It's just the small little habits, like spending 5 minutes on something. I've told people, like, if you want to write a book, if you write 50 words a day, you'll have a book in a year. If you write 500 words in a day, good grief, that's too much math for me at the moment, but I bet you have a book in a month. So it's more doable than you think. So you want to use this energy, and you have to face your fears about saying that there's not going to be enough. I don't have enough time or energy or money or things like that. You need to say, I'm going to find those resources. Now, when it comes to your relationships, you're doing an excellent aspect of the moon trine, that Saturn, and that does say that you could find somebody for a long-term relationship, or somebody who really wants to stick by you, or a friend that is somebody who's very stable, who has really good ideas and is supportive. So this is a really good time to reach out and meet new people and expand your circle. When it comes to your home life, you are pulling energy from that Mars in the 6th, but you have a great 4th house this time. And I shouldn't have even said but. You also have a great 4th house this time. So the Mars in the 6th says that you are, spending a lot of time doing, daily things, chores. Maybe you're cleaning out the attic or the basement. The attic or the basement, and you are doing things that are going to improve your quality of life. But in addition to that, with the Sun, Chiron, Venus there, that means you have opportunities to have wonderful people in the house, or just to feel really at home, to feel happy with the location, happy with the people you live with, and so forth. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Uranus and from that Saturn. And the interesting thing is, now get this, The Uranus is part of those eights. Remember the eights where I said, you know, what you're putting out, you are actually receiving. And so that is, if you start to change what you put out into the world, you get something different. And so be putting out positivity, and then you can start to get some positive results, or focus on your, you know, the abundance that you already have in your life, and you will get more of that. But then the Saturn there is also part of this grand trine with the full moon energy and the Mars North Node. And so again, you have such a strong ability to attract money this time, that money can come in from these multiple sources, from career, from activities you're doing. And so there is like potential windfall this time. So I'm very excited about the money you could be making. When it comes to your investments or money derived from your business, you do show that you'll be making more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, it is Sun doing a semi-sextile with that Uranus, and so that feels like it's a little bit irritating, like, you know, that you're working maybe a little harder, and so therefore you're making more money. But this is going to pay off in the long run. So it is just push, lean into it. Yeah, it means maybe you're having a little less fun, but then there's profits, and so profits are good. When it comes to money derived from career, you have the more complicated situation, but it actually underneath looks really good. So here, let me explain it to you. So what we look for is the ruler of the second making an aspect to the ruler of the 11th house. Now, both of those for you have co-rulers there. So we're dealing with 4 different planets here. So we're looking at Uranus or Saturn making an aspect to Pluto or Mars. And when we boil it all down, we have an aspect between Saturn and Mars being the trine, and Saturn Uranus, which is the square. And so that to me says that you have this great opportunity to make a lot more money in your career in this time. Now, it may not be the most obvious, because the most obvious would be the Uranus-Pluto aspect, and there is none. But this is when you dig deeper, when you push a little bit, because there is a square involved. When you push, you could, you know, get them to say, oh yeah, we have been underpaying you, let's give you a big raise. And so therefore, then the opportunity presents itself. Or you say, you know, I've already been filling in for this person who doesn't seem to be coming back. I want this position permanently, or maybe they've said they're not coming back. And so you say, you know what, I'm only going to do this more if I get the raise and the promotion. So it's going to take a little bit of a push, but you could get quite a windfall this time. And finally, when it comes to risky investments, and those are the unusual investments or investments that take a lot of time or effort or money, you're doing a semi-sextile between Uranus and Venus, and that does indicate that you can make some profits, but they're little tiny profits. And for some reason, you're irritated by it, so that probably means you're working harder than you would like. So it is that the profits from something that you're expecting to be great are tiny, and that's okay, because this is not an aspect that's going to be just a semi-sextile for a long time. It's just for the next 2 weeks. So I see some profits, but not as much as you were hoping for. So Aquarius natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of wisdom, adventure, people who live outside of your country, but also education, dealing with governments and things like that. So the spotlight's on all of those things. And so things like if you need to update your passport, or you need to do some government paperwork, that's something to do over the next 2 weeks. It also does say to start looking at what kind of adventure you can have, and that is maybe there are future restrictions in travel. You know, maybe your area becomes okay, but the place you want to go to is still locked down. And so what else can you do? And looking at some alternatives for yourself so that you can still travel and be in the world, but maybe you can't go to exactly the destination you were thinking of. Now, when it comes to life path and that Saturn North Node connection, the North Node is in your house of creativity and fertility and romance and all of that. And so there are opportunities for you to move forward on your life path in that area. But the Saturn going through your first house, doing that trine, says that you're doubting yourself, that you're feeling like you don't have enough confidence, that you're, just not good enough for this. And that's what you need to put aside. And I think that it's going to feel quite unfamiliar to you to start to feel, really confident. But remember what I said before, you want to make the unfamiliar familiar, and you do that by just, standing up and saying, you know what, I don't feel comfortable doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And you do that a few times and you'll start to feel comfortable. So you do have some creative abilities that really need to be explored. You have to stop doubting yourself. When it comes to your relationships, you are doing the semi-sextile between the Sun and Uranus, which says that relationships are very possible, but slightly irritating. And there's going to be some quirk about the person that you are falling in love with, or the person that you already in a relationship with. It just kind of drives you a little crazy. And you can let it overwhelm you, or you can just say it's one tiny thing and I don't have to let that be the focus. And so, this is the rock in your shoe when you're hiking. And yeah, it's irritating to have to stop and then dump the rock out. But once you do, things are better, so it is about stopping and taking the time and saying, hey, it really bugs me that you don't put your dirty clothes in the hamper or whatever. And then they say, okay, I'll try. But maybe the solution is you get a different hamper. So, and maybe it has like a bullseye on it so that they're looking to throw it in there or something like that. So relationships look good, but there's something slightly irritating about it. When it comes to your home life, you look like you're near home, but not quite in it. And so you might be in the neighborhood, and that means maybe you're out and about and you're walking, or you're interacting with neighbors or things like that. It looks like everything is good about it, that you are experiencing the neighborhood. It also could mean that you are starting to think about moving, and so you're exploring different neighborhoods around town, or even neighborhoods in other areas to move to. When it comes to your finances, you are pulling money from that Neptune, of course, but you also have Mercury there conjunct, which means more money is coming in. And it's visible money. It's money that could even come in from multiple sources. So it is a lot about what you're envisioning too, because Neptune allows you to have a vision, and then Mercury does the practical side of, oh, I've envisioned this, here's the client, now I need to bill them. And so Mercury does the paperwork part of everything. So, but you have really good energy this time when it comes to money. When it comes to your investments or business income, again, you have a good aspect. You have that Mercury conjunct the Neptune. So I see you making more profits over the next 2 weeks with your business or with some conventional investments. This also says more money coming in through affiliate marketing, or if you wanted to do something with royalties or things like that. So this is something you really do want to focus on and do the practical side of, because if you do, then the money comes in. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you're doing a semi-sextile between Jupiter and Neptune. So yes, you're making more money, and that's great, but I think it's due to working more hours. You seem to be putting out something and feeling less thrilled with the results. So maybe you were expecting $1,000 and you're getting $250 or something like that. You're getting less than you wanted, but it's still something. So there's some benefits coming, and they're coming over the next 2 weeks. It's just a little smaller than you were expecting. Now, probably your best energy is for risky investments, and this is investments that are unusual or take a great deal of time to get going, or a great deal of money. And while I still want you to be cautious, you are doing some good energy. First of all, it is represented by the Mercury conjunct Neptune, but also Mars in Gemini is in that house, and Gemini rules that Mercury. So we have these planets talking to each other, and that's what we need. So it's possible this time that you could find find a buyer for your business or somebody who wants to invest with you. You could find somebody who wants to do a partnership with you and launch a business, or somebody who's going to tell you all the secrets about some very exotic investment. Of course, again, be cautious, read the paperwork and all of that, but you have some good energy this time. Okay, Pisces natives, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of resources, so that's fantastic. So we have a big spotlight on what is available for you for the taking, and that is, if there's more credit for you, if there's better interest rates for you, if there are opportunities to get advice about investing or things like that. If resources can also be somebody's knowledge, and that could be that your little nephew knows how to make a website, or that they can take drone footage for you for your channel or something like that. So you have this spotlight on this, and so as you pay attention to what the resources that you have, they manifest. Now this is part of all those eights, and so as you send it up to heaven, as you send this out into the universe, then opportunities manifest. So it's time for you to be thinking these positive ways. We'll wait for the helicopter. Now, when it comes to that North Node Saturn, where you are looking at, finding your path, finding your destiny, it's really interesting because the North Node is going through your 4th house. So this could be something that you wanted to do as a child, or something that maybe your family has done. Like perhaps your great-great-grandfather had a farm, and of course, being back then, it was an organic farm. And so you're thinking, I want to leave the big city and go be a farmer. So, and the other interesting part of all this is the Saturn is hidden in your 12th house. And so you may not be as aware of specific limitations that you have, but instead this just kind of general, I know I should be nervous about something, but I can't figure out what it is. And if you don't let that stop you, you could make some great progress on your life path over the next couple of weeks. If you let that nagging fear bother you, or worse, like if a person has a fear and they can't put their finger on it, sometimes their brain just works on it and works on it. And so they start to, that's, I think, what gets people caught up in conspiracy theories and things like that, because they know something's wrong, but they can't put their finger on it. And so, oh, here's something, this kind of sounds right. And so then they go that way. But if instead you can say, unless I know what the thing is that's bothering me, unless I can put my finger on it, then it's not time to solve it yet. When it is time to solve it, it'll be concrete, it'll be in front of me. So I might as well move forward. And then look at the things that you wanted to do as a child. Look at the things that you thought about doing or that come from your ancestors, and see how you can bring that forward into your life. When it comes to your relationships, you have excellent energy this time for meeting new people or connecting on a deeper level with your sweetheart, because you're doing Mercury conjunct Neptune. And so this means that you are almost psychically linked to people, that you can say to the universe, I want to meet this type of person, and then they show up. And so you have really good energy, so you don't want to miss this time. When it comes to your home life, we have a lot of activity going on. It is pulling energy from that Mercury, which is doing a square to Mars in its own sign of Gemini. So we have tons of activity going on. This might mean that you have guests coming over, or that your kids are home from spring break, or that, there is somebody moving out, or you're getting a new roommate, or your Airbnb has people coming in and out. So there's just a ton of activity. You might be doing some renovations or things like that. Mars can do that. Or you might be packing up to move. And so that can bring a lot of energy as well. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Mars in your 4th house, as well as having the Sun, Chiron, Venus in your 2nd house. So that is major money energy this time, especially if you want to do something with regards to real estate or sales, or actually anything where you are putting out your talents and your abilities out into the world, where your shining faces out there. All of these things can make you money. So you have an excellent opportunity for money over the next 2 weeks. when it comes to investments or money that comes from a business, again, you're doing great energy because you've got the full moon there, so that's shining a spotlight on it, which can bring you some knowledge about where to go with your business or what kind of investments to make, as well as the Mars doing a sextile to the Venus, showing that you will make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. So when it comes to money derived from career, you are doing a trine between that Saturn and the Mars. And even though the Saturn is in the 12th house, I think you can activate this energy, especially if you do something that is connected to more spiritual activities, such as doing some feng shui or doing prayer, meditation, a little bit of candle lighting or things like that. But you can bring in more money this time over the next 2 weeks than usual. And so I do see this flowing into your life, especially when you connect it to something that you're doing as a spiritual practice. Now, when it comes to riskier investments, and these are the investments that are extremely exotic or things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going. They are represented by this trine between Mars and the moon, and so that's a great aspect. It's a little wide, so it's just, I would like it to be a little bit tighter. And so that is that you still want to be cautious when you're doing it, but a windfall is possible. And this could be that somebody, gives you the funding that you need to get it off the ground, or that you secure an amazing manager, or your best friend says, yes, they want to start a business with you. So I feel like there's some big leap you can make forward. I do feel like some profits could be had, but it will take some negotiation, and you have to stay aware because this aspect's a little on the wide side. So, but I feel like with it pulling in some energy from the Saturn, I think that's going to help. It's part of that grand trine energy, but the Saturn's only ruling your money derived from career. So you see where I'm feeling like the puzzle pieces are there. I'm not sure they're all fitting into place exactly right. I think some of them are. So I think you'll make more money than usual, but maybe not in the entire windfall that you're expecting, but I think it's close. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to say that, I don't know if you guys know, but I do readings. And so if you want, there is some information in the description box below about setting up an appointment. And you click on that link and it shows you prices and things like that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And stay tuned because LaRue wants to say hi. I may be in California, but I'm absolutely freezing right now. So I can't live in a place with the windows closed. But I'm freezing.